There's a man trying to cross a desert using only lightning for light. He waits for the storm, and when lightning strikes, he runs as fast as he can. But the light only lasts seconds, then darkness. So he stops, waits for the next strike, runs again. This is how most people try to change their lives, sprinting during bursts of motivation, then standing still in the dark, wondering why they never reach the other side. But the people who cross the desert, they don't wait for lightning. They carry a torch, a small, steady flame that burns, regardless of the storm. Motivation is lightning, thrilling, powerful, unreliable. What you actually need is the torch. Let me show you how to build it. You've been trapped in a cycle. Get motivated, take action, lose motivation, stop acting, feel guilty, seek motivation again. It's exhausting, and it's by design. This video will show you why motivation is the enemy of transformation, not the fuel. You'll learn that sustainable change doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from identity, environment, and systems that function regardless of how you feel. I'll give you the exact framework that makes action inevitable instead of optional. So you stop depending on fleeting emotions and start building a life driven by commitment, not convenience. The secret isn't more motivation, it's learning to move without it. That's what separates dreamers from builders. Let me tell you about two people trying to build a house. The first person, let's call him the firefighter, only works when he feels inspired. He wakes up one day on fire with vision. He's got blueprints in his mind, energy in his body. Absolute certainty this is it. This is the moment everything changes. He works for 12 hours straight, lays the foundation, frames the walls, makes massive progress. He goes to bed exhausted but proud, thinking finally, I'm doing it. This time is different. This time, I'm actually going to finish what I started. But then he wakes up the next day and the fire's gone. No inspiration, no energy, just resistance and doubt. The vision that felt so clear yesterday now feels foggy. The excitement that propelled him through 12 hours of work has evaporated. So he doesn't work. He tells himself he'll wait until the feeling comes back. He tells himself he needs to be in the right headspace. He tells himself that forcing it would be inauthentic, that he should honor his energy, that rest is productive too. And all of that sounds reasonable. It sounds like self-care. But really, it's just fear dressed up in spiritual language. Days pass, weeks. Maybe a month later, another lightning bolt of motivation strikes. Maybe he watches an inspiring video. Maybe he has a conversation with someone successful. Maybe he just wakes up feeling good. And boom, the fire's back. He works like crazy again for a day or two, makes a little more progress, then stops again. Years go by like this. The house is still unfinished, a pile of partial progress and broken promises. A monument to what could have been if only he'd been able to sustain the feeling. Now the second person, let's call her the architect, works differently. She doesn't wait for inspiration. She doesn't chase the lightning. She shows up at the construction site every single day at 8 in the morning, regardless of how she feels. Some days she's excited. Some days she's exhausted. Some days she's crying on the inside, dealing with personal struggles, feeling like she has nothing left to give. Doesn't matter. She committed to 2 hours of work. No negotiation. Not 12-hour bursts of manic productivity. Just 2 consistent, non-negotiable hours. Every day, no exceptions, no debate. Here's what happens. On the days she doesn't feel motivated, she still lays 10 bricks. It's not glamorous. It's not Instagram-worthy. There's no one there to applaud her. But 10 bricks a day, every day, builds a house. And here's the magic that nobody talks about. Once she starts, the motivation often shows up halfway through. Not before, after. She doesn't feel like starting, but she starts anyway. And the act of starting, the physical motion of laying the first brick, creates momentum. And momentum creates motivation. Not the other way around. We've had it backwards this whole time. 5 years later, the architect has a finished house. A real, solid, beautiful house where she can live. The firefighter has a foundation and a pile of regret. He has stories about the time he worked 12 hours straight. He has excuses about why it didn't work out. He has a highlight reel of his most inspired moments. But he doesn't have a house. Same dream, different systems. One person waited for lightning, the other carried a torch. This is the fundamental lie we've been sold, and I need you to really hear this, that you need to feel motivated to take action. But the truth is the exact opposite. You need to take action to feel motivated. And more importantly, You need to stop making action conditional on feeling, because feelings are unreliable. They change with your sleep, your blood sugar, your last scroll through social media, the weather, whether someone cut you off in traffic, whether your coffee was good. If your life depends on your feelings cooperating, your life will always be unstable. You'll always be at the mercy of circumstances you can't control. The most successful people I've ever worked with, and I'm talking about people who've built empires, transformed their health, created extraordinary relationships. They all have one thing in common. They don't wait for motivation. They've divorced their emotions from their commitments. They decided what matters and they show up whether they feel like it or not. That's not discipline in the way we usually think about it, like some superhuman ability to suffer through things. That's identity. They're not people who try to work out, they're people who work out. It's not an option up for daily negotiation, it's who they are. The same way brushing your teeth isn't optional. You don't wake up and debate whether you feel motivated to brush your teeth. You just do it because that's what people who care about their health do. That's the shift we're talking about. But how do you build that identity? How do you become someone who acts regardless of motivation? That's where this gets really practical. Here's something I learned from studying monks, elite athletes, and people who've sustained massive change over decades. They all have rituals that eliminate decision fatigue. Let me explain what I mean by that, because this is critical. Every morning, you wake up and your brain starts negotiating. Should I work out? Maybe tomorrow. Should I work on the project? I don't feel inspired. Should I eat healthy? Just this once won't hurt. Every single decision is a negotiation between your current self and your future self. And your current self, it always argues for comfort, for later, for easier, for the path of least resistance. That's not a flaw in you. That's how brains work. Your brain is designed to conserve energy, avoid discomfort, and keep you safe. And change, by definition, is uncomfortable and uncertain. So your brain will always push you back toward what's familiar. This is why motivation fails. Because motivation has to win every negotiation every single day. One bad night of sleep, one stressful morning, one moment of doubt, one discouraging comment from someone, and comfort wins. The deal collapses. You're back to zero. And then you blame yourself. You say, I'm not disciplined enough, I'm not strong enough, I don't want it badly enough. But that's not true. You're just trying to win a rigged game. But rituals eliminate the negotiation entirely. A ritual isn't a decision, it's an identity. It's who you are and what you do, no debate, no discussion. Monks don't wake up and decide whether to meditate. They don't lie in bed thinking, do I feel like meditating today? Am I inspired to sit in silence? No. They get up and they sit. Because that's what monks do. Athletes don't negotiate whether to train. That's not on the table for discussion. It's as automatic as breathing. It's woven into their identity so deeply that not doing it would feel stranger than doing it. Let me give you a real example that illustrates this perfectly. There's a man I worked with, let's call him James, who struggled with consistency his entire life. He'd start strong, full of fire and ambition, and then fizzle out within weeks. Repeat. Every January, new goals, new vision board, new commitments. Every March, abandoned. Back to old patterns. For years, this was his cycle. And every time it happened, his self-esteem took another hit. He started to believe something was fundamentally wrong with him, that he was broken, that he was someone who just couldn't follow through. Then something shifted. He stopped trying to motivate himself and started building a ritual. Every morning, 6 in the morning, no matter what, he put on his running shoes and stepped outside his front door. That's it. That was the entire rule. The rule wasn't run 5 miles. The rule wasn't have a great workout. The rule wasn't feel good about it. The rule was put on shoes, step outside. Some days he ran. Some days he walked around the block. Some days he stood on the porch for 2 minutes, breathed the morning air, and went back inside. Didn't matter. The ritual was the behavior, not the outcome. The commitment was to show up, not to perform. Here's what happened. Within 3 months, his identity shifted. He wasn't someone trying to be a runner anymore. He was someone who showed up, and showing up became who he was. Not what he did when he felt like it, who he was. The motivation became irrelevant because the behavior was ritualized, non-negotiable, divorced from feeling. And here's the beautiful part. Once the ritual became part of his identity, he started running more. Not because he forced himself, because it felt natural. Because he was already outside, because momentum pulled him forward. But none of that would have happened if he'd waited to feel motivated first. 2 years later, he's run 4 marathons. Not because he's motivated every day. He's not. Some days he still doesn't feel like it. But he's someone who puts on his shoes and steps outside. The identity creates the action. The action reinforces the identity. And motivation, it's just a nice bonus when it shows up, but it's not required. It's not the foundation, it's the decoration. This is the shift you need to make, and I'm going to be really direct with you here because this is important. Stop asking, how do I get motivated? That's the wrong question. Start asking, what ritual can I build that makes motivation irrelevant? Because motivation is a feeling. Rituals are systems. And systems always beat feelings. Always. You cannot build a life on feelings. Feelings are weather. They change constantly, unpredictably, beyond your control. But systems are architecture. They stand regardless of the storm. So, if motivation is unreliable and rituals are the answer, what are the core principles that make this work? Let me break it down for you. First principle. Motivation is a consequence, not a cause. You don't act because you're motivated. You're motivated because you acted. Motion creates emotion. This is backed by neuroscience. When you move your body, when you take action, your brain releases dopamine. But dopamine follows the action. It doesn't precede it. So stop waiting to feel like doing it. Do it and the feeling will catch up. Start small. Move your body. Take one step. The emotion you're waiting for is on the other side of the action, not before it. Second principle. Your identity determines your actions, not your goals. Goals are about what you want. Identity is about who you are. And there's a massive difference. If you want to lose weight, but your identity is someone who stress eats, someone who uses food for comfort, you'll sabotage every diet. Not consciously. Not because you're weak, but because your behavior will always align with your identity. Your identity is your operating system. Your goals are just apps. If the operating system says you're not a healthy person, the apps won't run properly. So change the identity first. Don't try to write a book. Become a writer. Don't try to get fit. Become someone who moves their body. The actions will follow the identity automatically, naturally, inevitably. Third principle. Decision fatigue kills more dreams than lack of talent. Every time you negotiate with yourself, you drain willpower. Every should I or shouldn't I weakens your resolve. This is why people who are successful in one area of life often seem to coast effortlessly. They've eliminated decisions. They wear the same thing every day. They eat the same breakfast. They follow the same morning routine. Not because they're boring, because they're conserving mental energy for what matters. The solution? Eliminate decisions. Build rituals. Make the behavior automatic. Remove the choice, remove the resistance. Fourth principle. Systems beat feelings every single time. Feelings are not reliable partners in transformation. They're fair-weather friends. They show up when things are easy and abandon you when things get hard. Successful people don't have better feelings than you. They don't wake up more motivated. They just have better systems. They've designed their environment, their schedule, and their identity to produce results without relying on how they feel on any given day. They've built a life that works even when they don't feel like working. But how do you actually build these systems in your real life? Let me give you the practices that work, the ones I've seen transform thousands of people. First practice, design your minimum viable action. Identify the smallest possible version of the behavior you want. Not the impressive version that'll look good on social media, the achievable one. The one you can do on your worst day. Want to write? One sentence, not 1,000 words. One sentence. Want to exercise? One push-up. Not an hour at the gym. One push-up. Want to meditate? One breath. Make it so small you can't fail. Because consistency compounds. Perfection doesn't. One sentence every day for a year is a book. One push-up every day builds the identity of someone who moves. You're not trying to achieve results on day one. You're trying to become someone who shows up. That's the whole game. Second practice, ritualize, don't optimize. Stop trying to find the perfect routine. Stop researching the best time to work out or the optimal morning routine or the most productive schedule. That's procrastination wearing a productivity mask. Pick one time, one behavior, and lock it in for 30 days. Same time, same action, no exceptions. The goal isn't results. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is identity. You're becoming someone who shows up. That's it. That's the victory. Third practice, separate action from outcome. Your job isn't to feel good. Your job isn't to get results. Your job isn't to perform perfectly. Your job is to execute the ritual. Did you show up? Yes? Then you succeeded. Period. It doesn't matter if the workout was great. It doesn't matter if you wrote garbage. It doesn't matter if you didn't feel inspired. You showed up. You honored the commitment. That's success. Detach your sense of accomplishment from feelings and outcomes. Attach it only to behavior. This removes the negotiation. This makes it binary. Did I do the thing or not? That's the only question that matters. Fourth practice. Environmental triggers over mental reminders. Don't rely on memory. Don't rely on motivation. Don't rely on willpower. Design your environment to automate behavior. Put your workout clothes next to your bed so you see them first thing. Put your journal on your pillow so you have to move it before you sleep. Put healthy food at eye level in your fridge. Put your phone in another room if it distracts you. Your environment is more powerful than your willpower. It always wins. So stop fighting it. Use it. Make the right choice the easy choice. Make the wrong choice require effort. So here's where we land, and this is the truth that'll either set you free or challenge everything you believe about how change works. You don't need more motivation. You never did. What you've been missing isn't inspiration or drive or passion. What you've been missing is the understanding that motivation is lightning. Beautiful, powerful, completely unreliable. And building a life on lightning guarantees you'll spend most of your time in the dark, waiting, hoping, frustrated. But when you build rituals, when you create systems that function regardless of how you feel, when you shift your identity from someone who tries to someone who is, that's when everything changes. Not because you're suddenly more motivated, not because you woke up one day feeling different, but because motivation becomes irrelevant. It's no longer the bottleneck. It's no longer the gatekeeper between you and the life you want to build. Here's the mantra I want you to carry forward, and I want you to say this with me right now. I don't wait for the feeling. I create it through action. Say it again. I don't wait for the feeling. I create it through action. Because that's the shift. That's the moment you take your power back from your emotions and put it where it belongs, in your choices, your systems, your identity. That's when you stop being a passenger in your own life and become the architect. The firefighter waits for inspiration. The architect shows up regardless. And the difference between those two approaches? One builds a pile of intentions and a story about what could have been. The other builds a life, a real, tangible, extraordinary life. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not lacking something fundamental. You're just using the wrong fuel. You've been trying to cross the desert with lightning when what you needed was a torch. Stop chasing motivation. Stop waiting for the storm. Start building rituals. Start carrying your own light. Start becoming the person who shows up, who keeps promises to themselves, who doesn't negotiate with comfort. If this shifted something in you, if you feel that click of recognition, that sense of, oh, that's what I've been missing, then do me a favor. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me what ritual you're committing to starting today, not tomorrow. Today. And subscribe to this channel because we're building systems together. Not hype, not inspiration. Systems that work when motivation fails. Systems that turn ordinary people into extraordinary builders. Your life doesn't change when you feel like it. It changes when you decide you're someone who shows up. Make that decision right now. Build your torch. Start walking. The desert is crossable. You just needed to stop waiting for lightning.